now Christian International High School, and we urge you all to subscribe to his Gov TV. Thank you.
Hello there, you are welcome to his Gov TV. If today is your first time of watching our videos, kindly subscribe to our channel. We are into the teaching of CRS history, government, social studies, and English language. So today we are looking at the death of King Josiah. In our previous discussion, for the past three videos that I have done, they are all on King Josiah's religious reform. So the first video was on the factors that helped King Josiah to embark on his religious reforms. Then the second video was on the individual reforms that was undertaken by King Josiah in both Judah and also Israel. Okay, and then the effect of those reforms. And so those were the two videos that we did before this. So this is the last of series of videos on King Josiah's reforms, and today we are looking at the death of King Josiah. Before this video, the last lesson that we did was on the religious reforms undertaken by King Josiah in the individual kingdoms, that is the northern kingdom as well as the southern kingdom. Good. And if in case you missed that lesson, I would include the link in the description for you to watch. Now, we said in our previous discussion also that after the death of King Josiah, Judah went back to the worship of those gods as well. Today we are looking at how King Josiah died, because it's a requirement in the WASI syllabus, and you could be asked to describe the death of King Josiah, which they have asked before. So let's begin with the death of King Josiah. For that's what we'll be looking at. So our lesson objective for today is quite simple. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the death of King Josiah. That's very simple. It's going to be a very short lesson. However, let me also remind you that I would include the video of King Josiah, a video of King Josiah's religious reforms, a video that tells all the story from the time that they discovered the book, the renovation of the temple, all through to the death of King Josiah. I will include the video right after this, so please, you can also stay tuned and watch that as well. I will add it to this video. Right after this video, you would go in there and watch. So let's take our Bible text. It's very quite simple. We are supposed to read 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 28 to 30. All right, so let's go into our Bible. Just two verses. We will read in there, and then we will come back with the summarization on the slide. All right, so good. Let's open our RSV Bible. If you don't have RSV Bible, I would advise you read from the screen. Okay, so let's read 2 Kings chapter 23, chapter 23, verse 28 to 30, right? And find out how King Josiah died. So 28, now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Neco, king of Egypt, went up to the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. King Josiah went to meet him, and Pharaoh Neco slew him at Meggido when he saw him. And his servants carried him dead in a chariot from Meggido and brought him to Jerusalem and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoash, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's stead. So this is how King Josiah died. But the question is, why did Pharaoh Neco meet King Josiah? Why did Pharaoh Neco kill King Josiah? All right. And also, why did King Josiah decide to meet him? When the Bible says meet him, it's not as if King Josiah went in there to meet Neco, as in, a friendly meeting. No, they had an encounter. That was war. What happened was that Neco was going to the king of Assyria. So Neco was going to visit Assyria, the king of Assyria, because Assyria was at war. The Assyrian Empire was at war with the Babylonian Empire. And so what happened was that Egypt wanted to see Assyria defeat the Babylonians. And so Pharaoh Neco went to assist Assyria in order for them to be able to defeat the Babylonians. However, because Judah was under Assyria, King Josiah did not want to see the power of Assyria to rise again. They wanted to assert their independence. And so he encountered Neco. He wanted to prevent Neco from using his territory to Assyria. And so when he encountered Neco, that was when the war came, and then he was killed at Meggido. Let's go back to the slide so that I can use the map to explain really to you what transpired between King Neco and Josiah. Okay, so now let's look at what transpired. Okay, but before that, let's take a look at the map. Let me use the map to explain to you so that you know what we are talking about over here. Now, this is what we are seeing. Now, this is Egypt, all right, and this is Judah. So this is Jerusalem. So Judah is this small, of course, country you see over here, and this whole is the Assyrian Empire. This is Haran. Okay, take a look at this place, Haran, and that was where the Assyrian Empire had, and that is actually where King Neco, Pharaoh Neco, was heading towards to meet Assyria, to help Assyria to fight the Babylonians. So this is Haran. This was the place where King Neco was going to meet with the Assyrian king and then fight the Babylonians. So now Pharaoh Neco had to travel all the way from Egypt through to Judah, and then before he can be able to reach where Haran, all right, to help the king of Assyria. However, we are saying that Neco wanted to see the Assyrian Empire rise because Assyria was probably good to the Egyptians. However, King Josiah did not want to see the rise of the Assyrian Empire because they preferred to be under the Babylonian rule instead of the Assyrian Empire. And so King Josiah tried to prevent Pharaoh Neco from passing or using this as a route to Haran to help the king of Assyria. And so when the Bible says King Josiah met with Pharaoh and Neco, it means he encountered him. He wanted to stop him from using that route, but that did not happen. And so he was killed at a place known as Meggido, and I don't think we have that place over here. So let's look at the summary, and then we will bring our discussions to an end. So Judah was a bridge country. When we say a bridge country, so you see where Judah is. Judah is here, bridging between Egypt and then Assyrian. That is, of course, Haran over here. And the king of Egypt wanted to pass through Judah to help Assyria at Haran. So that is what I showed you, Haran, the name over there. Now, King Josiah of Judah preferred the rise of Babylon to Assyria because the war was between Assyrian and the Babylonians. So he was on the side of the Babylonians as against the Assyrians. However, he was not happy to see the Assyrian power to revive. So Josiah was on the side of the Babylonians, whilst Neco was on the side of the Assyrians. He was therefore strongly against Neco's support for Assyria or to Assyria. So Neco was supporting Assyria, and Josiah was not happy with that. Upon several warnings by Neco, Josiah intercepted Neco at Meggido. Neco wounded him and he was killed in the process. And around 609 BC, Josiah died and he was buried somewhere. He was then taken to Jerusalem and was buried in his tomb in Jerusalem. So this is, in short, how King Josiah died. So let's watch the video. But before we watch the video, let's see if we have some lessons that we can learn from King Josiah's religious reforms. What are some of the lessons that we can learn? One is that they need to show obedience to the commandments of God. We need to obey God's commandment as his children. They need to avoid the mixture of religion, of course, syncretism. They were worshiping both, as if they were worshiping Yahweh, as if they were worshiping, they were worshiping as if they were worshiping Yahweh, as if they were also worshiping the other gods. And so that is what we mean by religious syncretism. And these things are very common among us as Africans. Most often you see that we are into the traditional religion. Sometimes when we are faced with hardship and trouble, we go to some god or some gods somewhere for help. Then on Sunday we go to church. We should avoid that. And that is exactly what the Egyptians, the Hebrews were doing. Also, they need to show reverence to God and purify the worship of worship. We need to respect God and also purify his worship. And also the need for revival and positive transformation. We need that positive transformation. Then also the need for true spiritual renewal. The need for true spiritual renewal. So these are some of the lessons that we can learn from King Josiah's religious reforms. Good. So let's try our hand on this work. Describe the death of King Josiah. It's very, very short. It's very, very short. So when you meet it anywhere, you should be able to do that. So now let's go there. Watch the video of King Josiah's religious reforms. Please don't watch the video without subscribing to our channel. Have a nice day and bye-bye.